And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Everybody who's traded has gone through periods of time where their strategy hasn't worked.
Where if not a hard stop, you should reevaluate the trades you're in based on time.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trading routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Good morning, friends and traders. Welcome to the Market Forecast. I am Dan Hodgman, filling in for John Hoagland. One last day. John will be back tomorrow. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Weather here was quite interesting. We had 55 mile an hour winds on Saturday and sideways rain, and 65 and sunny here yesterday. So Mother Nature's just showing us it all right now here in the Midwest. So hopefully wherever you guys were, you had a nice weekend. You were out and able to enjoy some of the weekend. We are back here today. As we see, I'm sure each and every one of you have already noticed, a number of these markets had a gap on the open. They've all recovered that gap thus far. But what does that mean? We are going into a nice volatile week. Why? Midterms tomorrow. Here in the United States, we do have midterms. So those of you that can't vote, get out there and vote. But that's going to lead to some volatility here this week. That's what's going to be the main focus. And then to wrap up the end of the week, we're going to walk into a CPI number. We all know how CPI influences these markets as of the last few years. It's been a major impactful number. So lots of things to be thinking about. And beyond that, I mean, that's my focus here, midterms. So little educational tip or reminder, PSA, beat the drum continuously, but obviously midterms tomorrow night, we don't know what's going to happen. We know the polls can tell us one thing. We can lead and trade into those polls, and we can see things change very drastically. So if anyone's out there considering what to do tomorrow night, turn off your computer. Make it inaccessible. Get away from it. Volatility will spike. It could be, one party is starting to lead and then it shifts directions, which obviously, everyone has a belief that if one party's in control, the markets will do this. If the other party's in control, the markets will do that. And we'll see this pendulum here in the markets moving. And it's not worth being involved in that. So I'm just going to say, get the heck away from it. Sarah, I ended up here in Milwaukee. So I didn't move too far. I got a condo in Milwaukee, really cool place, 180-year-old building, like 16-foot ceilings. It's a pretty cool spot. I'm pretty excited about it. So I've been here for 2 months, and I think I've spent a total of 3 weekends here. I've been traveling quite a bit. Not that anyone else there cares, but I wanted to answer Sarah's question there. All right, so markets, that's what we got to pay attention to. So far this morning, crude oil filled that gap, rotated back towards settlement price, and since it's open, has been working back towards settle. Again, I really am not coming into today with huge expectations. We saw some moves last week. I got a feeling, this is just a personal gut feeling, we're going to see things get a little quieter here today and into tomorrow. Most of what I think is going to be happening here today is really position adjustments. You've got large position traders out there that are going to work towards position adjustments so that no matter which way these markets go tomorrow, it can't really impact them too heavily. All right, so S&P's gap lower this morning, been on a nice trend to the upside. We already have checked Friday's swing high and rotating back inside. The exact same for the Nasdaq. Gold's pretty quiet, working inside. Euro, nice uptick in the middle of the night, moved outside of Friday's range and is still holding above that range. And then 10-year note, all looks like one sideways motion here for the last couple days on that market, still working inside range. So let's go ahead and take a look at these at a little closer perspective and get an idea of what's going on in these markets. All right, here we go. As always, we start with our crude oil market. Crude oil has been on a trend up, even with Biden kind of pulling some gasoline from the reserves. I think we may start seeing some of these prices push down. Not quite the case. Crude oil continues this trend higher. Why? Well, we talked about it on Friday. China is easing some of their COVID concerns, which is going to increase demand. When demand increases, increase demand. So therefore, supply has a little bit of control, and it's going to send these prices higher. Market is working higher, but thus far today, still inside Friday. So that's what I want to look at. I love our setup right now. Throughout the overnight, we found nice comfort inside range from Friday. What do we see here right before this market opened? Movement off the low side of Friday's value low and rotating higher back towards settlement price. Settlement price in this market, if you can give me just a second, I had it up and it hid. All right, is 92.61. 92.61 all the way up here is going to be our settlement price. So we've got a nice opportunity for this market to close the gap. And if any of you know anything about my trading style, that is one of the things I am always looking for. When a market opens up, where am I at in relation to settlement price, and can I take a trade to get me to rotate back towards settlement price? I've been trading crude quite a bit over the last year and a half or so, and to me this is a perfect setup. Off the open, market opens up. First question I'm asking myself, can I see this market start to rotate back towards settlement? Yes, I can. Market opens up. I'm off by an hour. Ignore me. I've been moving slow here this morning, so I did not trade, and my time zones are off. Obviously, this doesn't open until 8, so I'm 7 minutes off here. But what I'm looking at really is, for me, the point still stands. Market opens up, bounces off value low, and I'm looking for that movement rotation back towards settlement price. And I need confirmation. I need this to happen where markets, where there's opportunity, right? Like if I'm looking at this market and I'm opening up, let's say I'm opening up down here near the swing low, and I'm looking for that market to start to rotate back towards settlement price. I don't have that confirmation as much as I'd like because I got one overnight swing low, another overnight swing low, with Friday's swing low back here, but I'm opening up over here. To me, that's giving myself quite a bit of room that I really don't want to be risking to take that trade. Also, if you haven't seen, weekly kickoff high in crude oil this week is 96.50 with the low down here. I guess I should update these charts too. I assume the black one is John's weekly kickoff low level here. So weekly kickoff low is down here at 85.25 with weekly kickoff high up at 96.50. So the point I'm making is really even though you may find a great setup, you got to make sure the risk can be covered. If I'm getting in here and I can see a heck of a bit of risk down to the downside for that market to then have a chance to recover, I need to be a little bit more patient. I don't want to take that trade because I have too much to risk, where if I can keep it relatively tight, I can take that trade. And you know what? If I get stopped out, that's really okay. Next, go ahead and look at the S&P 500. All right, so last week we had a downtrend week in the S&P 500, but we're starting to see a little bit of life Friday and here so far today. When we look at today's movement here, it's a really nice overnight move. But as a reminder, weekly kickoff high in this market is 38.50 on weekly kickoff high with weekly kickoff low down here at 3,600, which happens to be our 25% retracement. All right, so this market is working its way back to potentially try and recover some of last week's losses. Right now, what I'm looking at is last week's swing low right here. Last week's swing low right down at 3,700. That's going to be a key level for me throughout this week. If I start to see this market rotating lower, that I'm going to look for an opportunity for some rotation maybe there, or either rotation or really nice acceleration through that price point. When we look a little bit closer at the 30-minute chart, golly, he's got a lot of charts here. Wrong one. That's our TPO. This is the one we're looking at. All right. So when I said nice movement yesterday, we had settlement price in this market at 37.79.5. 37.79.5. So just right here, right at point of control, essentially, from Friday. Market opened up, and this is the point. This is what I was saying. We had a gap open, right? And so when we have a gap open, if we're looking to trade that, if it doesn't get filled in the overnight, let's say that gap didn't get filled in the overnight, the first thing I'm looking to do on the open is I want to see if that market has a potential to go close that gap. That gap was closed last night. We'll see if some regular trading hours can start to fill it. But we've got settlement price right up here, just shy of 37.80, 37.79 half is our settlement price, which is just below our point of control from Friday. What I'm looking for here, this market rotated really nicely to Friday's swing high in the overnight session, rotating back around settlement price. For me, I'm going to really just try and see how this market rotates around settles, seeing if it stays inside Friday's range. If we can, unless we break out above that swing high, above our overnight swing high, if we start to see that breakout, maybe we'll start to see a little bit of recovering from last week, because don't forget, we still got an unchecked point of control up here at 38.47. 38.47 is that unchecked point of control. Next, let's go ahead and look at the Nasdaq. All right, Nasdaq, no different than the S&P in reality here, right? We've got a downtrend week last week, finding a little bit of support off of a prior swing low. We're finding a little bit of life here the last 2 days, and the market is setting up the exact same way here this morning. But before we get into the 30-minute charts, we're just going to touch on weekly kickoff high and weekly kickoff low. You've got weekly kickoff high up here at 11,400 and weekly kickoff low at 10,200. So decent range, and again, midterms weeks could be very easy that we may see both sides get checked pretty darn quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our 30-minute chart here and see what we've got going on. All right, so again, just like the S&P 500, this market, moving slow here, this market opened with a gap and has started to close that gap. All right, so now that since we traded in the overnight session, we came and checked yesterday's swing high, which is now our overnight high. You talk to anyone, especially Mick, if any of you guys have ever talked to Mick, those prior day swing highs and lows are some of his key levels that he is going to be looking at, and there's great opportunities. So same thing here. What I said with the S&P, I'm looking for this market right now. It is telling me it's staying inside. So I'm going to look for rotation on the inside. We got point of control down here at 10,846. You got settlement price down here at 10,890. So market's just barely above settlement price. So holding up there just a little bit. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to see how this market reacts around settlement price down to point of control. If we move through point of control, I'm going to look to value low. But really, right now, that's kind of my intention. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the inside. Now, just like the S&P, we could get some buyers coming in here today. Maybe some of these big, heavy positions are net short. They wouldn't be surprised, right? We've been in a downtrend, so they're going to try and buy some back, put a little bit of money into this market to cover some of their position potentially, and maybe a rotation up to that unchecked point of control, 11,231. All right, let's just take a quick glance. Again, I don't really look much anymore at gold or euro, but I will pull them up just to get a little bit of a glance at them for everyone to see them, and then we'll get on out of here. All right, gold, inside channels, really range bound. We've got weekly kickoff low. Man, I got a tickle in the throat. Weekly kickoff low up here at 1725. Personally, I'm a little bit tighter than that. I'm bringing myself a little bit tighter in here, right around 1710. When I was looking at this earlier, that would be really where I've tightened things up. But again, not too far off. We got a couple areas that we can keep an eye on. Friday was the big mover in this market. Really strong day in the gold on Friday. Pretty impressive. It followed that overnight trend that we saw from Friday night going into Friday day. And here so far, we've been relatively quiet. So when we look a little bit closer at what the gold's done so far, really a quiet day. It struggled to get inside value from Friday. So that's going to be key for me. If we can get this market to get inside value, I'm going to look for just rotation inside value. If not, I've got my swing high up here right at 1687. Yeah, 1687. That's where I got that swing high. Really, that's what I'm going to be looking for. We've had a big move on Friday. I tend to come into days after big moves relatively quiet. But if we can get this thing to rotate inside or accept inside value, we may be able to see some movement to the downside and potentially that overnight swing low down here at 1670. All right, let's just glance at this euro, and we'll get that gun out of here. Euro, really nice channel trade as well. Your weekly kickoff high in this is 1017 and 0.9830. So these prices are pretty wild, right? Sub one market trading. Trading above $1 now, but pretty impressive on this market. So this market, just like S&Ps, or excuse me, just like gold, is really in a sideways trend, trying to figure out what to do with itself. But when we look a little bit closer on our 30-minute chart, we've got a nice move in the overnight session. Now, historically, when I used to be really close to watching the euro, we'd see the big moves in the overnight and get a little bit quieter during the regular trading hours. So what I'm going to keep an eye on is we still have this pretty hefty gap here. This market opens up above, but it was a pretty impressive move in the overnight session. So what I'm going to look for, if this market starts to rotate to the downside, I'm going to keep an eye on where the gap on Friday to Sunday night was. If we can get inside, look to see it kind of close down some of that gap, come check point of control. If not, I'm really going to just kind of be patient and see if we can continue with trend on this market. All right, so that's what I've got for us here today in these markets. John will be back tomorrow, and he'll have a lot more information for me. But the one thing I will say, thank you for tuning in with me the last couple of days. It's been fun getting back in here and doing these. It's been quite a long time since I've done any market analyst or chart analyzing like this on a live stream, so that's been fun. Kevin, I see your question. Do you use footprint charts? No, I don't. I'm pretty simple. I run a daily, a 4-hour, and a 30-minute chart, a couple moving averages, and then I run some proprietary stuff that I've been using for most of my career to help kind of determine what my levels are and how the importance of those levels are. I'm a big levels trader, and I'll define everything through channels. So I look for high side, low side, look fading extremes on trends, and whether it's trending trading or range-bound trading, really going to try and define my channel, fade extremes, and look for longer time movement. So that 44-hour chart is my number one thing that I'm looking at. Awesome. Well, thank you for all the comments. So many of you in there. I appreciate you guys, again, tuning in with me the last few days. John will be back tomorrow. Also, just as an FYI, there will not be a recap this afternoon. I unfortunately cannot cover that one, so there won't be a recap this afternoon. But again, we're going into midterms tomorrow. Voting's going to start. The news is going to talk about it all day, and be patient. Don't trade it if you don't want to, or if you don't have the appetite for risk. I can honestly tell you, I don't have the appetite to trade an election day. I'm not that guy. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and tune on out of here. You guys have a spectacular week. I will see you tomorrow at the Coach's Playbook. So other than that, I'm going to sign on out. Take care. Trade well, trade smart, and be patient. Take care, everybody.